So let's continue.
Don't believe what the opposition research purveys through the media.
It's not opposition research. We looked at your tax returns, which you very kindly have released.
Yeah, exactly.
And you made
voluntarily released because I want to be transparent.
You made 300 grand in 2014 on capital gains. In 2015, after the IPO of this Axovan, you made $37 million in capital gains. Yet others didn't make that kind of money.
After Mehdi, give me a break. After Roivant, the multi-billion-dollar business that developed 40-plus medicines, yes, I sold shares in that. And that business, if I may actually allow you to know how I made my money, developed 5 FDA-approved therapies that are now FDA-approved today.
After you sold
one of them is a life-saving therapy in kids.
They weren't FDA-approved when you were CEO, were they?
They were FDA. Actually, over the time that I developed them, we took them all the way through phase 3, and then we did a $3 billion deal that actually
they were approved a year and a half later after you sold the company.
Yeah, so Mehdi, I'm not going to fault you for not knowing the first thing about biotech because that's not your job. But getting through phase 3 is the final stage of clinical testing before you hand in the application. Yes, my company did a $3 billion deal that actually did make money for those shareholders. And so,
so again, Mendy trying to play his audience because he knows they're ignorant, right? This is MSNBC. These people don't know anything about money, right? They don't know how any of this works. Basically, in a nutshell, what Vivek is saying is that, we developed 5 FDA-approved drugs. We got them through phase 3. After phase 3, basically, it's just paperwork and red tape until it gets approved, right? So he sold them at that point, okay, because the point is to make money, to develop the drugs to the point where they get through their trials that they need to get through in order to be FDA approved, right? So we'll sell them to a company that actually wants to market the drug and do all the other work that is required to actually get the drug to market. Again, that's a whole totally different thing. Okay? People don't understand and realize that, right? So again, Mindy's trying to play his audience like they're dumb, right? Because he knows they don't understand how this stuff works. But again, there's nothing sketchy about it. It's just business, right? That's all it is. This is how startups work. But again, because he thinks his audience is ignorant, he says, well, you made $37 million after Axovan went public. And it's like, he did because he owned shares in Roivant. He sold shares of Roivant, which owns Axovan, but also a ton of other companies as well, too, that develop drugs, right? It wasn't just Axovan. He actually never sold shares directly in Axovan. He actually took a loss on that. Again, it's hilarious when you actually really know, right? When you know how this stuff actually works and you listen to these people talk, it's just so hilarious. And I know Mendy's not ignorant. He just thinks his audience is ignorant, right? That's the worst part about it.
So, yes, I have built Roivant's a publicly traded company, nearly $10 billion public company today that I built as the sole founder from scratch as one of several companies that I've built. So, yes, I have a business record that I'm proud of and will equip me to lead this country.
You mentioned stage 3 trials. The Alzheimer's drug failed it after you did a lot of touting of it. You say 99.7% failed. You never said that at the time. Do you have any regrets about how you hyped that drug?
I did say that.
CEO of Roivant said this week that you hyped the drug. Do you regret hyping it?
We did not hype the drug. To the contrary, actually, one of the things that I found
this week.
Well, I can't speak for what is or is. I haven't read any article that you're quoting, so I don't exactly know what you're referring to. The fact of the matter is, though, I have been transparent at every step of the way. Everyone who is in the biotech industry knows that Alzheimer's disease is the graveyard for medicines. But I still think it's an important area of need. And I'll say this, Mehdi, is, you know what? If I serve for 2 terms, I'm still going to be in my 40s when I leave the White House. It is a personal passion of mine to come back and see if Alzheimer's disease hasn't been cured. I do want to play a role in still delivering treatments and cures for that disease. And people who don't take risks, don't achieve meaningful impact, the medicines that I did develop, I'm proud of. And you don't get there without having a number of medicines that you test along the way. And the other thing I will say is our success rate under my watch was higher than probably nearly 99.9% of biotech startups in the last decade. So, yeah, I stand by that record. I'm not afraid of taking risks. That's part of the American spirit.
Well, technically, the successes were a year and a half after you sold the company. But we'll get bogged down. Let's talk politics.
Mehdi, that's dead wrong. And I would sorry to say you're embarrassing yourself in front of anybody who knows anything about biotech for knowing that phase 3 trials are the final stage. The final stage, the FDA phase 3 studies succeeded. So you're barking up the wrong tree, but we can continue to move on.
Let's talk politics.
Yeah, he is embarrassing himself, especially in front of me when it comes to his knowledge of capital markets specifically, right? I'm not an expert in biotech, but when it comes to all the other stuff, yeah, you're embarrassing yourself. You're trying too hard to play gotcha when essentially what he's doing is criticizing Vivek for being an entrepreneur and doing what entrepreneurs do. Entrepreneurs fail. Right? Like, you're going to fail. He failed and he tried again. And they're criticizing the man for failing and trying again. Again, it blows my mind. It's even worse than the criticism that he gets for taking a scholarship, right? I mean, the dude gets criticized for taking a scholarship. A scholarship that you have to be an idiot not to take. If somebody's giving you free money, doesn't matter if you're a millionaire. Again, this is really the Trump treatment, right? This is the Trump treatment. It really is. It's embarrassing.
We do. We want to talk lots of stuff. Sure. You're an advocate, your critics say, of fantasy politics, of magical thinking. They say you propose stuff that can't be done. For example, you said on Meet the Press the other week that if you had been in Mike Pence's place on January the 6th, you would have insisted on first passing a bill that night to bring in single-day voting on Election Day with paper ballots.
That's inaccurate.
Government-issued
I never
ID.
said that night. I never said that night.
What you would have done on January the 6th, and you said I would have done this, and the next day
what I would have done differently is that I was precise about the period between, and this is still ambitious, I will admit, but at least let's get my view correct. It is ambitious. Between November 4th and January 6th, I think it was an opportunity for heroism.
Just to be clear,
he also didn't say anything about that night either, right? He didn't say anything about that night either, but you threw that in there and said that he said that. These guys kill me, bro.
Absolutely have said it every step.
Let's play the clip, guys. Do we have the clip?
I've said this in countless forums.
Have a listen to the clip.
On your Chuck Todd splice script, in all of my written statements and everything I've said.
Hold on, we're playing the clip right now.
In that period,
let's play the clip.
Between the election. Here's what I would have said. We need single-day voting on Election Day. We need paper ballots, and we need government-issued ID matching the voter file. And if we achieve that, then we have achieved victory, and we should not have any further complaint about election integrity.
So what would you have done
it through the Senate?
So what would you have done with Mike Pence? You would have not certified the election?
So in my capacity as president of the Senate, I would have led through that level of reform. Then on that condition, certified the election results, served it up to the president, President Trump, then to sign that into law, and on January 7th, declared the re-election campaign pursuant to a free and fair election.
Now, to be fair, he never gave an actual timeline on when he would have did this, when it would have started. He essentially just gave a generic answer in regards to how, in order to avoid what happened on January 6th, he would have basically tried to push legislation in the Senate, which he can do in his capacity of president of the Senate. And that doesn't mean that he actually introduces legislation. What that actually means is that he rallies the party together as vice president to push the legislation, which we've seen this be done before. Kamala Harris has done this when it comes to voting rights. Okay, that failed, but she led the voting rights effort, okay, as president of the Senate, aka vice president of the United States of America. The mainstream liberal media twisted what this man said to try to make it seem like he's ignorant on how the government works and thinks that the vice president of the United States can introduce legislation in the Senate when that's not technically true. But at the same time, the vice president and the president of the United States are very influential in regards to introducing and promoting legislation. Sometimes there is legislation or there is a plan that starts in the executive branch and they send it to the legislative branch, and the legislative branch, they make whatever changes they want to make. But to pretend that the VP or the president doesn't have any say-so on legislation that's being pushed or introduced, and the legislative branch is just completely dishonest, which is what the liberal media did with that segment there from Vivek Ramaswamy.
Vivek, not only do you not mention anything about November, but let's say you did do November. That joint session was not a legislative session. The vice president doesn't have the power to introduce legislation.
Well, during that session from November to January 6th, we had got a stimulus package passed. Okay? So don't sit and try to pretend that it couldn't have been done. It could have been done. It would have been difficult. Would it have been unlikely? Yeah, it would have been unlikely. But to say that it would be impossible is nonsense. Now, again, could Vivek had actually really got Democrats on board with what he's saying? No. But it's a hypothetical, right? You asked him a question about what he would have done differently. He told you. But really, it's a question that really doesn't matter because what's done is done. But it's only a question being asked because the mainstream liberal media wants to relive January 6th forever. So they're asking questions that's really irrelevant in regards to the future.
Either party would have backed such a bill.
Oh, come on,
it couldn't have been passed in a day.
The fact of the matter is,
naive stuff.
The president, the president and vice president absolutely drive legislation through Congress. That is exactly how
but
things
Trump
work.
wasn't doing legislation.
Now,
he was busy pushing the big lie, as you pointed out yourself.
Well, no, there was a stimulus package, right? Again, what do you mean Trump wasn't doing legislation? We got a stimulus package. What are you talking about? Again, this is embarrassing for MSNBC.
Your books.
Well,
so he wasn't
and
there.
I wasn't
Mike
the vice
Pence
president of the
could not
United States.
have passed a bill, but
I was not the vice president of the United States. You guys in the media, you guys in the MSNBC crack me up to sort of create a hypothetical situation to say, if you had been vice president, what would you have been doing? I'm telling you exactly what I've been doing, but you're saying, but that's not what Donald Trump was doing. This is
Mike
a
Pence
joke.
asked you,
Let's
hold on,
actually
Vivek,
have a substantive conversation. Do you want to have a substantive conversation about what should have happened, or do you want to play a game of gotcha? Because you have the choice. The choice is yours. Do you actually want to have a substantive conversation? If you do, I'm down to do it. Do you want a substantive conversation? What we need.
You said substantive 4 times.
Actually, if you want to get a word in, you know, if you're going to speak the truth and ask a legitimate question, have at it.
I think it is a legitimate question. Multiple people wondered about your knowledge of how Congress works, suggesting Mike Pence, by the way, on the debate stage asked you if you would have supported what he did. It's not an MSNBC question. It's a Republican vice president question.
Yes.
So fine, you don't want to answer
it. And what I'm
you
saying is
it
was a missed opportunity for heroism, not in one day, but I think that in a period of 2 months. And I think you're a smart guy.
It couldn't have been done in a lame duck
There's
Congress,
an American
Vivek. You're
confidence.
a smart guy. It couldn't have been done in 2 months.
I think under extraordinary circumstances, in extraordinary times, we have an American Confidence in Elections Act. It's literally making its way through Congress now. ACE. I support it. I think if we had gotten that done during that window, further we said single-day voting on election day as a national holiday.
And Mitch McConnell wouldn't have agreed to a national holiday.
I think Democrats should agree to it.
We can argue forever.
I think Democrats should agree to it.
That's a different argument.
That's what I stand for. I think we're still going to get that done when I'm the president.
Okay.
When I'm the president, not in some fantasy land where I was vice president in some other year in the historical history.
Let's talk about you as
but
president.
What I'm running for
Understood.
is what we're going to do.
Let me ask a question so we don't run out of time. Please don't filibuster. I just want to ask a question about when you're president.
Yeah, so if you guys want to watch the rest of the interview, I'll put a link in the description. But boy, like I said, that was rough. That was Indian on Indian violence, right? That was brown man on brown man violence. That had more to do with probably, what part of India these people are from, okay, or the fact that Vivek is Hindu and this guy's Muslim. That probably had more to do with it, okay, than anything, right? Who knows? That was entertaining, okay? I think that Mehdi Hassan is a total hack, but he definitely gave Vivek the toughest interview that I've seen that Vivek do. And again, I got to respect the guy for standing up, man. I mean, the guy is going into every fire and just standing his ground. I mean, it really is something to behold. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.